To say someone besides them should be favored is being contrarian for the reason of being contrarian, and that's a bunch of bullshit. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Hard Foul Radio. Appreciate you for tuning in today. This is the show that values time, so let's not waste any. So Thursday Night Football tonight. I generally will always look at the Thursday night game and say, okay, what's at stake? What can happen? What's best and worst case scenario for both teams? Talked about it last week. The Jaguars were playing the Bengals. That was a good game for Jacksonville to look at and go, okay, this is where the Bengals are at. This is where we want to be. That's what you want to emulate. Well, one possible coaching scandal later, and we'll see. Tonight, though, we have the Rams and the Seahawks, which are two of the better teams in the NFC West. And I thought to myself, the same way I think Buffalo has a chance this weekend to put a really big early season, not knockout punch, but a really big swing and turn things around if they beat the Chiefs and drop the Chiefs to 2-3 and the division the Chiefs are at, like that could be huge. And that was my initial inclination for today is, well, what if the Rams beat the Seahawks and the Seahawks go to 2-3? Then the Seahawks are going to be in a hole in the NFC West, clearly the best division in the NFC. This is going to be huge. Then I thought about it for about another 15, 20 minutes, and I was like, no, it actually doesn't matter at all if the Seahawks fall to 2-3, because the Seahawks' only competition is themselves. Who does Seattle now have to worry about going forward? Seattle loses the game, they go to 2-3. I'll give you another one. What do they lose next? We can go to 2-4. I think the NFC West gets all the wildcard teams. So who does Seattle have to worry about? That whole division, now it's seven teams. You can make the playoffs. All that entire division plus the other three division winners. Arizona, Seattle, LA, and the Niners. And the Niners, I think, are actually a team that should be more worried because the Niners, Jimmy G being hurt again, and we all like Trey Lance. I like Trey Lance. But the fact of the matter is, rookie quarterbacks don't make the playoffs that often. And San Francisco might have more talent than those other teams, but have you seen the other rookie quarterbacks? It takes time. It takes time to adjust. Even if I think Trey Lance is going to be good, I'm projecting for the career of Trey Lance. I'm not projecting for this season or right now. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. There is star power everywhere. Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Seattle side, Metcalf, Adams, Russell Wilson. Like, there's going to be stars and high-end players everywhere. But Seattle being knocked out or thinking that Seattle, if they lose this game, the X might get back in the division, it's kind of like a so what. Segueing from Thursday Night Football over to the NBA, and the coaches or the anonymous GMs poll came out, and they are rating guys who's top 5 point guards, top 5 twos, top 5 threes, 4s, 5s. That's cool. I don't care. Whenever they rate players, it's very safe opinions for the most part. Very rarely do they jump out and go, oh, well, this guy's really a top 5 point guard. No, this is why LeBron's top 5 at 3 different positions. And that's not knocking LeBron. LeBron's obviously still one of the 2 to 3 best players in the league. Arguably, you could make a case he's still the best player in the league, but he's not a top 5 point guard. Let's just be honest here. The other thing that they were surveyed on is who has the best chance to win an NBA title. The Nets were one at 72%, the Lakers were second at 17%, and the Bucks were third at 10%, and other was 1%. Okay, so I understand that we are warped by recent history. We just believe since 2010 that if you just throw a couple all-stars together, a couple future Hall of Famers, it just always works. You get a title, you get multiple titles, all that, it just comes together perfectly. Except that it only has meshed perfectly twice, and that's with Steph Curry and LeBron James, 2 of the 10 greatest players we've ever seen. And the other time it worked is when it worked immediately with the Celtics in 08, and that team had 3 of the 40 greatest players ever. KG's for sure top 20. Pierce is probably top 25, 30, and Ray Allen's in that top 40 area. We don't know the Brooklyn Nets. Like, we don't know. This is as much a 2K team as it is a real team. We don't know what James Harden is going to do in the playoffs. We don't know. We don't even know if Kyrie's going to play. Kyrie hasn't even committed to getting vaccinated, which still puts him as a part-time player. And even if you think, oh, well, they're good enough to be a part-time player and still make the playoffs, fine. But what if you don't have home court advantage? You're going to play a 7-game series and you're not going to have Kyrie Irving for 3 of those games? What if you get home court advantage? Are you going to still feel like the favorite and not have Kyrie Irving for 4 of those 7 games? The Nets sound great on paper. We always have this. We have great paper teams. It looks great. If you're into movies, it looks like a great movie poster. But we don't know. Nothing is confirmed about the Nets besides Kevin Durant's fucking amazing. And we know Kevin Durant can be amazing. Kevin Durant, and I still stand on this, outplayed Giannis in Game 7. But guess what? Giannis's team won. We don't know anything about the Nets. We don't know if this for sure works. We think it's going to work. We assume it could work. But we don't know if Kyrie's playing. James Harden is yet to have any moment that's not less than stellar in the postseason. And Durant's Durant. Then go to the Lakers, who are the second at 17%. What do we know about the Lakers this year? Do we just know Russ, LeBron, and AD just works? 2 years ago, you guys were telling me Melo was washed. Now Melo's the missing piece. And I love Melo. There is no Melo disrespect here. But this is still an older team, all of which are out of their prime. Even if you think LeBron's great, and LeBron is, he's out of his prime. The only guy who's in his prime is Anthony Davis, who, and I'm going to sound like a hater just being a Pelicans fan. Are we sure AD can carry this team? Is it going to be a great regular season team? Do we know how they're going to work in the playoffs? Do we know how they're going to work late in games? What is known about the LA Lakers? This team is all just thrown together. Got rid of a whole bunch of guys, brought in a whole bunch of new ones. And then there's the Bucks at 10%, which is the most known best quantity. The Bucks are the best stock in terms of taking or predicting an actual NBA champion. And really, to say someone besides them should be favored is being contrarian for the reason of being contrarian, and that's a bunch of bullshit. You know what stocks really work? If you ever get told, hey, what stock should I invest in? You invest in Walmart, you invest in Amazon, you invest in things that we know are gonna be here. Yes, are there always gonna be stories about investing in this little thing that blew up into $1 billion company and this guy got rich off it? Of course. But those are stories that make the news because they're not common. They're rare. They don't happen that often. We don't have anything to back this up. There's nothing that you can tell, oh, this is always going to work. We know the Bucks work. We know the Bucks can play together. We know what it looks like. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. We know what their star player looks like. We know their bench. We know their head coach. We know their supporting cast. And we just saw them win an NBA championship. Like I said, Durant outplayed Giannis in Game 7. Didn't matter. Giannis still won. Chris Paul and the Suns rolled through the Western Conference, and Giannis and the Bucks, after Game 2, dog-walked them. The Bucks are the stock to pick from if you want to predict an NBA champion. But the Nets are the safe pick because we all think the Nets should work with Kyrie, KD, and James Harden. It just sounds like, yeah, you got those three players, Corey. Yeah, favorite to win the title. You got LeBron, AD, Melo, and Westbrook. Yeah, second best favorite. The Bucks should be the title favorites. Defending champions. We know what they look like. We've seen them in the postseason. Don't be contrarian just for the point of being contrarian.